Hi. Um, I wanted to make a video. I am coming up on my 8th year in a few short days of sobriety, and I felt like um, I needed to thank everyone in my life for realizing that this is a lifelong condition and that addiction reaches different people in different ways, and it's not always easy to deal with. But you can deal with it in your daily life if you have a really great support structure. And I've watched, unfortunately, in the last 5 years, the town that I came back to heal myself fall victim to the unfortunate Farmageddon, as we once called it. With my drug of choice being what it was, it pains my heart deeply to watch this town fall into the hole of opioid addiction. It stretches across generations. This drug does not choose lightly. It is not careful. It happens quickly. And our doctors, unfortunately, in this town, do not take it as seriously as I think it should be taken. Dealing with a lifelong addiction due to early use of opioids and benzodiazepines for symptom relief, anything from period cramps to chronic pain to social anxiety, migraines, basically anything and everything you can come up with, you're able to be given an opioid or a benzo from your doctor. They're not usually willing to fight for personal choice. They will hand it to you with no regard to long-term consequences. Our ERs and urgent care centers are the highest risk outside of course, our pain management clinics, which I dealt with for a long time, and I realized that all pain management clinics who choose opioids or methadone are facilitating the pharmaceutical industry's ability to create an addiction problem, and they use that to feed financially their continuing support. A lot of doctors are easily bought off. A lot of doctors are easily convinced. They're still allowing people to bring in x-rays from chiropractors from other years that are not current, from other hospitals out of state, and allowing those x-rays to be used to diagnose conditions to prescribe continued opioid use. And it is infuriating for someone who has had a problem to watch this continue to go on and to watch more and more pain clinics continue to pop up across the street from each other. My biggest hurdle with addiction on a daily is my chronic pain. And it is difficult to deal with that when you have this little voice in your head every day that tells you that there's a really easy solution. And it is so easy. It's so easy. And that's the part that upsets me. This video is to kind of lighten my heart, to make it known to those who are willing to listen that I feel this town in particular has a terrible opioid problem, a terrible heroin problem, which is the next step in opioid addiction, is when you can't get it from your doctor or they're not willing to supply it to you anymore as cheap as you thought it was going to be, you then turn to the next best thing, which is heroin. It is a stronger and more futile effort. It is very, very easy to fall into. It's easy to get, it's easy to find. Our needle exchange in the last 6 years has quadrupled the amount of business that they're doing due to just the consistent use that has continued to go up and up and up and up and up. And it is extremely unfortunate that it's happening here. I want to make it known that methadone clinics are not the answer. Elections are coming up for local government, and I hope that you will support the shutting down and limiting of our methadone clinics. We don't need them at all. Methadone clinics are a way to continue letting addicts use, and they do not work. It has been proven that they don't work. They don't work in other states with opioid crisis, and they don't work in this town or state. What we need are Suboxone-only clinics. Suboxone is a beautiful miracle drug. It comes in many forms, and it allows the user to alleviate their withdrawal symptoms and their pain symptoms without activating their opioid receptors. If your opioid receptor is a square and your drugs that you're putting into your body, like heroin and methadone and morphine and any type of opioid, is also a square. So when that square fills in the square of your opioid receptor, you get to get high. And Suboxone does the same exact thing, except that square mutes your opioid receptor. So you get all of what you need without the ability to get high. And certain doses of Suboxone also limit your ability to get high for 72 hours. That is what eventually worked for me when I was in detox. I used it very sparingly, and it was given to me during my rehabilitation. I was still very, 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 very sick, but it helped a lot. And the fact that I knew even if I took it and I still wanted to get high, just knowing that I could never feel high because I took it, that did a lot to alleviate the mental part of fighting detox, which is once you get so sick, you feel your body starts revolting against you. And when your body revolts against you, your mind revolts against you. And because of that, you feed on, I need to get high, I can't be sick, I can't be sick, I can't be sick. This is killing me, I'm going to die. This is how I'm going to die, is by detox. And with the Suboxone working the way that it does, you cannot. And it's just one more barrier in your own mind, physically and mentally, to keep you on the right side of the tracks. Methadone, on the other hand, gives you an active high. I tried methadone on various occasions, almost to the point where, not almost, to be completely honest, to the point where when I would run out of any of my drugs of choice, I would go to a methadone clinic and play the I need to get clean card, and they will facilitate you for 2 weeks for $50 if you sign up, and they will feed you methadone so you can get high every 8 hours, and they claim they're weaning you off. It is way too easy to stay an addict, and it is way too easy to use what's in place by the pharmaceutical companies, by our clinics, by our pain management specialists, by our family doctors, to get these drugs and to stay on them. But enough about that. Please fight against when you have the chance. And that is the most important thing you can do, is just keep in mind that every politician stands for something. And if they stand behind the pharmaceutical companies, or they stand behind your local pain management clinics that are using unfair practices or unsafe practices, that you decide to vote for someone else, because that's not something we need. This is a huge problem, and it's only going to continue to get worse. We are fighting another war, and that is the war of sobriety. Every day, they don't preach to addicts that this is going to be a lifelong problem. Every day you wake up and you're an addict. And that's something that every day you have to make a choice of whether you're going to give in and use, or whether you're going to stay strong and not use. Your greatest asset is the people you keep around you. Fortunately, I've been extremely lucky, and I have an amazing support structure in my friends and my family, and I was lucky enough to have that. Not everyone has that. A lot of people choose meetings. They choose other resources, and honestly, there's no wrong way. If it works for you, then keep working it. If you need to work the steps, work the steps. If you need to go to meetings, go to meetings. If you need to talk to someone, find a sponsor, find a friend, find someone who you can talk to. Every day, you need to be able to be honest with yourself. If you're having a bad day or you're having a using day, you need to tell someone. And initially you think to yourself, I've been clean for a year or 2 years or whatever it is. I don't need to run to my sister or run to my friend and tell them about how I feel like I want to use, because they're automatically going to judge me, and they're automatically going to think that, I'm a giant piece of crap and I just want to be high again. And I'll never be over being an addict. But that's the foundation right there. Your people who you trust need to understand that you telling them that you're having a using day is you asking for help and asking for non-judgment, whether that's just spending time with someone to get them over that hump or whatever it may be. You need to admit that you're in a place where there's a possibility that you won't be able to control yourself. And no matter how long you go being sober, those days will happen. Like I said, I'm going on almost 8 years here in a couple days, and there are days where I just can't hack it. Whether I have to call into work or I have to spend the day with someone, whatever it may be, it's still a very real part of my life. And you can't let people have a negative opinion of you admitting that you need help, no matter how long it's been. Whether or not you can find that structure is going to be up to you. You are the company that you keep. And if that company is not doing anything to help you or move you forward, then you need to find a different group of people that will. If you don't feel comfortable telling them that you are at risk, then you need to find someone that will listen without judging you. There's nothing weak about having a bad day. The ability to admit that you are not in control of everything that's happening in your mind today is the strongest thing that you can do. There's nothing weak about it. It is not easy, but it makes you all the stronger for being able to do it. Best advice I can give: knowing your limitations, knowing when you're having a bad day, knowing when you need someone around, knowing when you need advice, knowing when to walk away from a group of people or a situation. Self-awareness of your own addiction is the key to maintaining sobriety. It's just so important to give yourself a level of control. Even if the only control that you have is looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, today is a shit day. Today is going to be horrible. All I want to do is use. No one wants to talk to me. Everyone thinks I'm a giant piece of crap. And everything about my day is going to suck. So I'm going to deal with that. That's all you can do. If all you can do is look in the mirror and admit that you're having a horrid day and you understand that it's going to be bad and you're going to accept the horribleness for what it is and move along with it and kind of roll with the punches, that is the strongest thing you can do. It's not weak to admit that you have problems, no matter how long it's been since your last use or your last day or your last trigger, whatever it's been. That's the best piece of advice I can give. So, main topics covered. Please vote against politicians who are supported by the pharmaceutical companies. Please vote against continuing to raise methadone clinics and pain management clinics with unsafe practices here in our city. Continue to use your support structure and anything that you need to be able to stay strong every day. Continue to admit when you're weak and when you need help and when you need support, because awareness is number one. That is number one. Also remember that you will never be able to control your addiction. You are able to deal with the symptoms of it. You are able to fight it, but you will never be able to control it. That voice will always be there. There will never be a day where you wake up and it is gone. Whether you need a higher power, whatever it may be, that is completely your own thing. Anything that you use to fight the good fight is completely and 100% acceptable. As long as you're not using other pharmaceuticals, then there's really nothing to be afraid of. Outside of that, I just want to give the biggest shout out in the world to the people who have been the strongest and most amazing people in my life who deal with this every day. Whether it's the mental trauma that I deal with, whether it's the physical trauma that I deal with, whether it's, sitting with me in silence or just watching me cry, or whether it's talking me out of doing whatever crazy thing it is that I'm getting ready to do. Anybody that I deal with on a daily basis, I am so fortunate to have in my life. The biggest shout out I could possibly give is to my husband, John, who I absolutely adore in every way, and he is my other half, and he is the better version of me. Without him, I could not do this every day. And without him, I would probably still be using. So that is a huge thing. He believes in consequences, as do I. I have faced consequences of my actions in the past, and I still face the consequences of my actions in the past to this day. So that is just a part of life. I will always be held accountable for the things that I do, which is completely fine, and I totally agree that that needs to be a fact of life and a reality for me. My babies who keep me so grounded. If you need someone to remind you that your shit does in fact stink, and too bad you're not that amazing, so kind of take it down a notch. My kids are number one, great at that, and I am so happy to have them, and they definitely keep me on my toes. So that there's nothing more that I could hope for. I love so many people in my life, and I am so very happy to have them. They've stuck with me through all of this, and I couldn't ask for anything more. And I wanted to thank all of you for being there for me and helping me every day. And I just absolutely love and adore all of you. And I am so blessed to have you all. And I just wanted to give you all a personal shout out. Little bit half reminder of the daily addiction that we deal with in our city and with our friends and the people in our lives and our family, and a little bit of thank you so much. I couldn't do it without you guys. Happy 8 years, and here's to many, many, many more. And thank you again, all of you. I love you, and bless all of you, and I will see you all soon.